Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to another edition of the Herd Fit Podcast with Coach Dave Syvertsen, and I'm Sam Rhee. And today we're going to be talking about equipment for the CrossFit Open. So CrossFit just released their equipment list for the 2022 Open, which is starting February 24th. We've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into it specifically, but as we know, there are multiple divisions within the CrossFit Open. They include RX, which is the most challenging division, a scaled for those who wish to go lighter or have lighter loading, and then a foundations division for those who are relatively new to CrossFit. And then there's also the age groups, teens 14 to 17, and then the masters divisions 35 plus, and they both actually have RX and scaled within them as well. And then finally, the athletes that have some significant permanent impairments, adaptive, which include upper lower extremity, seated with hip function, neuromuscular, and other divisions. So today we're going to go through the equipment. We're going to talk about possible movements, speculate on what the workouts might be, and just cover everything that we think you could do with the equipment they've listed.
And just what to mentally prepare for. Once we get beyond the equipment, the potential movements that you'll see, hopefully we'll cross everything. And last year I would have not said wall walks. It would have been the open, so it's possible we'll miss something. Even further than that, we'll go into what to expect with what kinds of workouts, how long, how many reps, like that kind of stuff. We'll touch on that a little bit later as well.
The first thing I wanted to cover with you was what isn't in the open. So let's get those things out of the way, the things that we wouldn't expect to see because they didn't even mention them.
This also goes to show how much the open is evolving. When I started, there was a workout, that's it, RX or bust. You do it or you don't. You can or you can't. And up until this year, this is the first time they've ever sent out an equipment list for us to prepare for. And I think they're listening to affiliate owners. There's a lot of planning and logistics that we need to make sure things operate smoothly. And it's really hard to know how to plan things without knowing what equipment we need, how many of things we need, what kind of spacing do we need. And I guess that this is one of their efforts to show that they are on the affiliate side to say, hey, we're going to do everything we can so that you can prepare yourself, even just mentally, to know this is the equipment you definitely need in your gym for your classes during the open.
And they're making it very accessible.
Yeah.
They've simplified things tremendously. For the athletes that are still doing it in their garage or doing it on their own, I think they've made the equipment list relatively reasonable, or at least more reasonable than it's been in past years. Let's talk about what isn't in the open. Wall balls are not in the open. How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with it. I think that's part of the thought process is a lot of people that do this in the garage don't have a 10-foot clearance for males. And really, you need something higher than 10 feet. So a lot of garages don't have that, whether it's a wall ball line or a wall ball target. Is that why they're doing it? I don't know. I mean, does that mean we're never going to see a wall ball in the open again? Probably. What wall balls test is lower body, upper body capacity, and conditioning component for higher end athletes. For some people, it's strength related. But really, there are so many ways you can test conditioning and lower upper capacity that why not just take that out? So I think that's why.
I think of wall balls as a jacker upper. Every time I do wall balls, it's just elevates the heart rate.
And you can do that so many different ways.
And it's full body. It's one of those thruster type movements. And so you're right. You can substitute other things in it. The next item that they definitely took out was rower. How do you feel about the rower?
Personally, I like rowing, and we'll get into this. It'll probably show up. What's not showing up now will probably show up in the next stage. So for me, I like, you know what? I probably would want it in the later stage when it's a little bit more competitive or a little bit tougher, the workouts. How do I feel about rowing not being in the open? I don't know, to be honest. I like when rowing isn't in an open workout. Not for me personally as an athlete, but for the gym. It's one of the movements that I feel it's very safe to do when you're really tired. And I'm big on trying to teach athletes. A lot of this comes down to your willpower and your guts and you really kind of going dark during an open workout. And that's one of the few motions where I could tell anyone to go as hard as you can, whether it's the end of a workout or it's an aggressive workout in and of itself. I like the fact that you can do that in a row. There aren't many movements, maybe a burpee that you could do that in an open workout. But I wish it was in the open just because I think there's a lot to rowing that can really enhance the test in so many different ways.
I agree with you that if you are a good rower and you're a good athlete and you're competitive, you want to see it in the quarterfinals,
Right.
not necessarily in the open.
Right.
I think the rower is so challenging because you have to know yourself well for it, because to go 10% faster on that requires 50% more effort.
Yeah.
And you can blow yourself out on the rower and not gain a whole lot out of it.
That's a good point.
It requires some mental calculation and skill involved.
Yep.
It's also one of the worst, as you said, in terms of going dark. I think some of the worst WODs I've ever done in my entire life included that was the rower burpee one. Was that the one, burpees over rower? Or was it a rower thruster?
The worst open workout ever?
Yeah.
27, 21, 59, row cal thrusters at 95, 65.
Yes, that was the worst one.
By far the worst.
Yeah. So if you really want to hurt someone,
Yeah.
you make them go as hard as you can on a rower.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I like what you said, it's true that I'm so big on athletes really taking ownership of, what is your body capable of, but more importantly, what is it not capable of, and trying to avoid that stage early in a workout. And rowing, there's so much information that you can get from looking at a monitor when you row, like your strokes per minute, your pace at the beginning, your pace at the end. What pace can you hold without it ruining the rest of the workout? And like you said, a 4-second difference on the monitor can ruin the workout. And I really think it takes a lot of concentration, and I'm big on just mentally challenging people in workouts as well. And I think that's a big part what you can get out of rowing. So I'm trying to think, why would they take it out? Maybe it's just because this year they have the open test set up and rowing's not in. Rowing does not need to be in an open workout. Is it garage gym friendly for people? It's like, all right, most people don't have a rower in their gym. Maybe. They are trying to open up the door for people to do these in a regular gym. As long as they have someone that passed the CrossFit judges course there judging them, it'll be fine. And they've never done that before. Last year, I think you said they had to do it at an affiliate. So maybe a lot of these Fitness 19s, Planet Fitness, a lot of them don't have a Concept 2 rower. I think, again, maybe it's more trying to make it more accessible.
Makes sense. And then the next one is rings.
Yeah. So yeah, when I saw the original post on Instagram, they had rings. And I said, oh man, there's going to be ring muscle ups in the open. But no, that's for the adaptive division. Mm-hmm. There will be rings. So for the other divisions, the open division, scaled, all that stuff, there will not be rings. So there won't be ring rows for scale pull-ups. So you're probably looking at, if there is a pull-up, you're looking at like a jumping pull-up type. I think that rings, when I started CrossFit in the open, they would put rings at the end of open workouts. If you got there, which was hard to get there, but if you got to, you let those guys and girls that have them go do their thing. But if you don't have one, it won't ruin the workout, meaning you're not just going to stand there for 9 minutes trying to get your first ring muscle up. And we've seen that at Bison before.
I've done it.
Yeah. 2015, I think it was.
Yep.
They had the 7 ring muscle ups started off the workout. And I think it was a 13-minute workout. And we had probably a dozen people, their open workout was trying to get their first ring muscle up. And we laugh about it. But you don't want that. I love seeing people get their first muscle up. I love seeing people fail, then succeed. That's a huge part of it. But for an open test, I get that they should probably be at the end of the workout. And then you really start to pigeonhole yourself a little bit. Like you don't get to be as creative with programming if you feel like you have to do that. And again, part of what you can do now with this 10%, the next stage, the quarterfinal stage, is put the rings in there.
Yeah.
And because that's less, the next stage is less about inclusive programming. And it's more about, all right, now we're at the sports stage.
They're looking at the competitive athletes,
right,
or who are focused on competition.
Yeah. One other thing that's not in the open was, we can now blend this into what is, there's no double dumbbell.
2 dumbbells, yep.
Yeah, so there will be a dumbbell in the open, or they told us we should be ready for that. But that means they're very adamant about it was 1 dumbbell. So there won't be double dumbbell thrusters, thank God. There won't be like double dumbbell, double press, step overs, any other motion that you do, front squats. So that's a good sign. And I'll tell you what, I think that's another thing that they're trying to do to help affiliates. In 2017, they told us, hey guys, about a month before the open, hey guys, there's going to be dumbbells in the open. And we had a few, but we did not have enough for a class. So we started freaking out, and as did many other gyms. You go to Rogue Fitness, sold out. You go to Walmart, sold out. So we were literally contacting local high school gyms and using some of the contacts we had from Bison.
We were taping plates to the dumbbells.
Yeah, and I know a lot of gyms that did the same thing. And hey, credit to everyone that did that. And we had a lot of people come help us out with that. I still remember our coaches showing up that night before at 9:30 p.m. using duct tape to tape plates to dumbbells. And we used them 2 weeks in a row. Actually, the first week it was everyone got 1 dumbbell, this dumbbell snatch. And the next week we were like, all right, at least that's done. And then we had to do it again the next week because we had to have 2 dumbbells. It was double dumbbell lunges and double dumbbell cleans. And that was a move. Like, I'm not big on complaining. That kind of sucks, but we'll make it work. But a lot of gym owners were pissed. I'm part of that Facebook group of the CrossFit gym owners. They were just livid, saying it's disrespectful. We put so much into the open, and then you're going to drop this on us. I think that a lot of gyms, if you have a class of 10 to 15 people working out at once, a lot of gyms don't have enough dumbbells for everyone to get a pair. So what do? Do you just let people use lighter? Do you use kettlebells? And again, is it a huge deal if you change it up a little bit for the open? No. But if you want to make this an inclusive event, you have to do your part. And I think that's what CrossFit's doing here.
It's really hard. Those double dumbbell thrusters, remember that with the toes to bar?
Yeah.
That was an awful work.
It's that's a very tough move. And that's a heavy weight. If anyone wants to draw a comparison, right? Whatever weight is in one hand on a thruster, I equate this to that much weight being on that side of a barbell. So example, we use 50 pounds, right?
For RX.
For RX
Men.
double dumbbell thrusters for men. To me, that feels like a 135 pound thruster with a barbell, meaning there's 50 pounds here, there's 50 pounds here, and then we don't have a barbell to rest on our front rack. So you have to work harder to hold on to it. And that's a really tough movement for a lot of people. Like the women with the 35s, that would be like about a 105, like a 95 to 105 pound thruster. Like a lot of women can't do that, but they RX everything else. So I think that was one of the more aggressive open workouts, I thought.
Especially if you have any shoulder asymmetry strength-wise.
Yep.
That weak side just gets exposed like nobody's business.
Yep.
The last thing before we move on to what it actually is in the open was they didn't mention space, like space to walk.
Good point.
Handstand walks, walking lunges.
Yep.
They didn't mention that you need lanes or an area.
Yep.
You can probably take those out of the picture too, right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely take out handstand walks. Lunges, I always feel like you can do in place. So I wouldn't say that we're going to not have lunges.
But not walking lunges.
But there will be no walking lunges. And that's something we train all year. And I'll be honest with you, when I start putting handstand walks into workouts like this time of year, it is with that in mind. Now that I know it won't be in the open, I actually going to change, not this week's, but next week's open prep workout was going to have handstand walks at the end. And now it's almost like pointless to say it's an open prep workout if it's not going to be in there. For those that plan on making the next stage or want to, assume something like that will show up. But yeah, there will be no handstand walks and no walking lunges in the open.
All right, let's start with what is in the open. Maybe we can also speculate on, if we're using Dave Castro's workouts for the open, he said there were a couple new elements.
Yep.
Maybe you can speculate on what those might be.
Yeah.
The first is dumbbells. One dumbbell.
Yep.
For the RX, it's 150-pound dumbbell for men, 35-pound dumbbell for women. Scaled, it's 35 for men, 20 pound for women. And then for the scaled age division athletes, it would be a 20-pound dumbbell for men, 10-pound dumbbell for women.
Yep.
What do you think about a single dumbbell?
There's so many different things you can do this. Do we need to go over every single movement? Probably not. But I'll say this. We have seen the dumbbell snatch multiple times. I think 3 times in the open. We've seen the hang dumbbell clean and jerk. We've seen a step up in that chipper, the 50-50-50 chipper. Those are movements that we've seen. But again, you can go one arm push press. You can go one arm thruster. You can go one arm overhead squat, dumbbell squat snatch. There are so many different movements. One thing I think you can mentally prepare for as an athlete is know that if you have that really significant imbalance, that's going to get tested. I would say I'm 75% sure on this, that if we're going to see it, we will see a single dumbbell movement, it will be upper body related. You're not going to see a single dumbbell front squat. It'll be a thruster or an overhead, a clean and jerk. So your both arms will have to work at some point. I don't think you'll see the step up. It's possible. That's why I leave myself an out there like 25% sure that it'll be something that with one arm is going to eventually go above your head. And I don't think you'll see the dumbbell snatch. They already repeated that. We've already done it 3 times. We've done the hang clean and jerk just 1 time. We've never done a single arm dumbbell thruster. So I think that's what we should prepare for, something with that dumbbell that's going to be going above your head.
So that is what you speculate would be the new movement, is something like a single arm.
Yeah, like single arm thruster or the single arm devil's press, which what we practiced last week.
Right.
I think it's a very good movement for a fitness test because there's a lot that goes on into it, and there are little subtle ways to go a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, but it really just comes down to capacity, just being able to do big sets, and I think that or do them while you're tired.
I agree. I think if there's going to be a new movement with a dumbbell, devil's press is my guess.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of times the new movement in the open has revolved around the dumbbell. And so just be prepared for that.
And then the standard barbell and bumper plates are also part of the open as well.
Yeah. So the question I get a lot on this is, what is standard plates? Like, because they're trying to guess how much weight do you need. A standard set only brings you to, I mean, in my eyes, you don't get 425s. You get one of everything. So the max that would go up to is around 250. But I think last year they had that max lift, and some people were going well above 300 pounds. Some of the guys are going well above 300 pounds. So does that mean that we won't see a max lift when they just say you need a standard set of plates and bars? In my eyes, yes. I think we're not going to see a max lift. I think we might see an ascending weight workout where it starts off light, everyone can do it, and then at some point your strength you get to a barbell you can't lift. So that respective person found their max, or failed to go for a max. But last year we got an actual 1 rep max of that complex. I think when they say you need a standard set of plates, I think that's something that would mean that we're not going to have a max lift. What do you think about that?
It makes sense. If we're going along the theme of accessibility, then why would you have a max lift if you're trying to make it accessible for the general populace?
Right.
If you want a max lift for the athletes who want to be competitive,
right,
throw that in quarterfinals. It makes much more sense regard.
And you could still test strength very much with a standard set of plates.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can just add more reps or make them do as many reps with a relatively heavy barbell.
Right, exactly.
And tire them out beforehand and jack up their heart rate as they normally do.
Yep.
And you could make for a guy, 185-pound barbell feel like a 255-pound barbell.
Or just say the word snatch. If you want this year's this barbell complex to be a snatch deadlift, think about what we did last year. I don't know if this could really make that much sense, but you do a snatch deadlift, a touch and go snatch, a hang snatch, an overhead squat, right? Something like, you're not going to need more than a standard set of plates for that.
Do you remember if they've ever programmed a sumo deadlift high pull?
Never.
So do you think they could?
They could. That's something that's always crossed my mind. And because that's a very old school CrossFit movement, it's been around a long time. They still program it. If you ever listen to some of these guys that program CAP or just old school CrossFitters in general, they program sumo deadlift high pull all the time. And it is, when it's done correctly and safely, like anything, it's a quality movement. A lot of people in our gym hate it. But
I hate it.
Yeah, it's awkward. I think part of the reason why people hate it here is we just don't do it often. So when it comes up, it just feels awkward. But I'll say it's a really tough movement to standardize. In my eyes, it's simple. Get the bar to the ground, get the bar in line with your clavicle. That's your collarbone, people, all right? It's not your rib cage, okay? But when you do sumos, that's where the bar is supposed to reach, your collarbone. When I watch the gym do it, I would say 3 out of 10 people get it up there every time. Some of them just don't have that ability, like the mobility in their shoulder to open it up. So they can only get to about their chest and they don't want to get hurt. So they bring it right back down. But then in my head, I'm saying that's the same standard as squatting. There's not an objective thing that gets touched. There's like a pretend line that your hip needs to get below before you stand back up. So from that regard, it's a similar complexity in terms of the standard, is trying to get that barbell up to your collarbone. So do I think you could see it? Absolutely. What do you think?
I hope not. I hate that feeling because I have my left shoulder mobility isn't great, and to be medially rotated and pull, I know I'm supposed to use my glutes and hips to really drive that barbell up. But when you get tired, you just end up starting to pull with your arm, and that's a recipe for injury, I think.
It doesn't look like a dangerous movement compared to snatch, but it bangs people up, the shoulder.
The other thing is it's even worse for me if it's light, because then I feel like I can really use my shoulder. A heavy sumo deadlift isn't so bad because I know I have to use my leg. So we'll see. Plyo box, a 20-inch box with at least a 15 by 15 inch top surface.
Yeah. Don't anyone freak out about that 15 by 15. Like a standard box meets that requirement. The reason they say that, there are some of these boxes that I feel like I only see these like at Globo gyms where they go up on a very significant slant from the ground, and the surface in which your foot is actually touching on the box is very small. What that does is, if you're going to be doing a jump over motion, burpee box jump over, lateral box jump over, or just a box jump over, that person that has a really small box is traveling a much lesser distance than their standard box. I remember at Legends 2 years ago, we did a workout with ascending squat cleans and burpee box jump overs. and it was a box I've never seen before. It was an extra wide box. So you would basically jump onto the box and have to take 2 steps to walk to the other side. It was weird. And what I liked about it, it felt stable. You never felt like you were going to trip. It was one of those black boxes, and some of those black boxes, they feel unstable when you get on them. I think that's the purpose of it. Was just wider so that you didn't feel like you were going to fall, but it slowed down the motion a lot. And I just remember thinking that, man, that's why they say you need to have a certain width at the top of your box. Is you can't have this advantage that it's so small that it's easy for you to get on and off.
But they have the standard movements. Obviously, we're going to assume like a burpee box jump over, box jump, step ups, step overs. Yeah. Is there anything new that they could do with a box that we wouldn't anticipate?
A dumbbell step over, what we've been working on. Right now it's Sunday. Tomorrow's workout, we have the double dumbbell step over, which is going to be terrible. I think you could see something like that. Could they ever standardize something where it's got to be a lateral box jump over, maybe? Like you have to jump sideways. It's like a little bit of a different test, a little bit more demanding on the hips, maybe something like that. Old school CrossFit, the first few opens when you had box jumps, it was just a standard box jump, right? You face the box, you jump off, you come off. It was a really tough standard to uphold. I don't think they've done normal box jumps. And well, they did it about 3-4 years ago, but they gave a step up option, that pistol workout. But it's a really tough standard for people to watch. Like, does someone actually stand all the way up on the box? Whereas if you did a jump over, right, or a burpee box jump over, there is no standard to step on the box. You just have to get on your feet on the box, get to the other side. I like that better because it makes it easier to standard. So that's another thing. A lot of people also, I'm not big on rebounding on box jumps. I used to, and I think it bangs up your calves and your Achilles pretty bad. And that used to be a pretty common injury in CrossFit, is the Achilles.
Yeah.
And when you're doing a workout that has 100 box jumps in it, and you're, jumping on, so what rebounding is you jump onto the box and then you jump off the box, and the second your feet hit the ground, you jump right back up. So it's almost like you're jumping on a trampoline, but you're not. You're jumping on hard rubber, and most people can't handle that joint wise. There's been a lot of people that have blown their Achilles out from that motion. That's something I hope we don't see. It's just a normal box jump workout.
That's something that basketball players get a lot. And one of the worst I ever saw was a YouTube video of Althea Boone blowing out her Achilles. Doing a rebound box jump.
Julie Fouché, I remember watching it, watching her blow out her Achilles. I've seen guys do it. I've been at a comp where someone blew out their Achilles doing it. The odds are so low that it would happen to you, but it's just, again, if you're trying to make fitness tests that make sense, because this is the first stage of competition, but also doing your best to protect the people that are doing it, the masses that are doing it, that doing the jump overs solves a big part of that issue.
Pull-up bars. It says pull-up bars that allow for all common hanging movements and kipping.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
So obviously pull-up toes to bar, and the common question, Open Gym Sunday, everyone working on muscle-ups, right? Will it be muscle-ups in the open? I think there will be, but then that terminology that they put in that post, all hanging and kipping motions, they didn't say anything about overhead clearance. And a lot of times that when these online competitions or these online qualifiers, they will tell you, hey, pull up bar that you have enough space to kip, but also enough overhead clearance to get onto the bar and do the top half of the muscle up, the dip. They didn't note that. And it made me think it's very possible there will be no muscle ups in the open.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when you install it in your garage, like I have a pull-up bar in my garage, I am very short, so I barely can do a bar muscle up in there. But very few people have that clearance.
Yeah.
And if they don't specify it, I almost feel they're not going to put bar muscle ups in the open.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards you. And think about it, you have a pretty high ceiling in your garage. A lot of garages don't have that, especially if your traditional garage gym setup, the pull-up bars near the wall. If the ceiling has a slant to it, you're still not getting to the apex of the roof right at the top of your pull-up bar. I think this will be the first, if they don't put muscle ups in the open, this will be the first time maybe ever that they don't. And I think it makes sense. You don't need to put muscle ups in the open. I think it's just we're so used to it. But I think we can definitely see plenty of difficult open workouts with kipping and all that, and gymnastics capacity tests that don't have muscle ups.
Sure. Toes to bar will still kill you. Regular pull-ups, chest to bar, strict pull-ups.
Yep.
Are strict pull-ups going to be in the open?
It's too hard to standardize, in my opinion. It's like strict press. You tell people not to move their hips when they're strict press. It's a subtle, they bounce it off their chest. I don't think you'll see it. Strict pull-ups, no.
One jump rope.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. The question we get every year is, will there ever be triple unders in the open? I think we're good there, guys. I don't think you'll see that in the games or semifinals before. They are finding ways to make jump rope more difficult in sport setting. the drag rope, the weighted jump rope. But I think for the open, it's just always going to be double unders. And trust me, I know some guys and girls that are very good at double unders, and everyone's got a threshold that you just can't get past. That one open workout from 2018 that had a movement, 100 double unders, movement, 100 double unders, movement, 100 double unders. Like that was the flow for the entire workout. And even guys and girls that were very good at jump rope, they hit a breaking point. And it's one of those movements where it can make anything more difficult just because the heart rate checks up so high.
We have jump ropes in our gym, but this is probably the one piece of equipment I would tell athletes, go get your own jump rope.
Yep, that's
it
a good
makes
point.
such a big difference.
Yep.
Even if you have no interest in learning how to do a double under, the fact that you have your own jump rope that is customized to you, you can travel with it. It's even if you get one of the super fancy ones that's expensive, it's still only $30-$40. Just get it.
Yeah, and what also another thing for you to think about, if you're someone that just comes to the gym and gets their jump rope, we probably have 50 of them here. What if someone else gets it before you? That's another disadvantage, right? What if Sam and I both use that jump rope with a gold handle, and then he gets here before me on open day, and he gets it? Like, I'm kind of thrown off now. I don't know what to use. And that I agree with Sam. If there was one thing that I would tell people, you usually don't want to spend the money or just don't want to deal with it, it's jump rope.
Wall space. It says open wall space.
We're going upside down. I think everyone should plan on that. And you have 3 options here. Well, probably 4. All right, but it's probably going to be one of 3. Option number 1, wall walks. I did not see that coming. I'll admit that last year. That totally caught me off guard.
Nobody saw it coming.
Yeah, we could definitely. And note, I do think CrossFit traditionally likes to do things like this. Like, all right, cool. We surprised everybody with wall walks last year. Did you get any better at them this year?
Probably not. I didn't practice them very often, no.
So that's going to be something that they like to do. They're like, we threw this at you. It should now be part of your gym's programming every now and then. Let's see what you got. Because last year, I'll tell you what, that was probably the first serious wall walk workout a lot of people did. I remember we've done them in the past, but nothing like with increasing volume like that. And I think that's something CrossFit generally is get tested. Cool. Let's get tested again. So it might not be the same workout. I hope it's not. I hope they don't do the same workout, because now that you only have 3 workouts, I don't want to see repeats. I just don't.
Don't they usually have a repeat though every year?
Pretty sure they've done a repeat every single year, but that was when Castro was in business. So that's another kind of curveball that we don't really know what to expect. Not that it matters that much, but who's programmed the open workouts? I think that's, if I had to guess, we're probably going to see wall walks again. How would you feel about it?
I hate them.
Yeah.
I can do them. I don't know if I would do better, other than the fact that I would know how to pace it better this year. I could see it being a repeat. It was a double under wall walk workout, right?
Yep. Ascending reps on both.
I was speculating, actually, one of the new movements might be a lateral burpee touching the wall.
Okay.
So I saw that in a workout. I can't remember which qualifier workout, or there was something that I saw that in.
I think it was the online version of the games from 2 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it was 12, what is it, 12 inches? They had to jump high.
So they had to mark and then mark some amount above their hand.
Yeah.
And every time they did a burpee, they would have to jump and touch.
Yeah.
And that was very challenging for those athletes. And it was very different than a burpee to target.
Okay. I didn't even think that's a good outside the box thought process right there.
We'll see.
So you have the wall walk, you have the burpee to the target. And then the question is, will they throw handstand push-ups back in? So yeah, you could see handstand push-ups again. You could see the regular strict handstand push-up, which Bison's been working on for a long time now. And on that is basically there's no standard for where your feet need to get to in the line. You could see the kipping handstand push-up, which has been another sour point with a lot of affiliates, because to try to verbally talk you through this standard is kind of tough. But basically, based on your size, your arm length, there's going to be a line on the wall that everyone needs to get individually measured for. And then you go upside down, you do your handstand push-up, and your feet need to get beyond that line. And there's been a lot of weird controversy behind the actual standard that kind of centers around if you have some like shoulder tension, you have some lockout issues, you just can't get your feet up there. Or you have to wait an extra 3 seconds at the top of every rep to try to just get your feet to that line. And I'll tell you what, it's a pain in the ass to measure out every single person. And you got lines all over your wall. I noticed this last year, that in the Age Online qualifier, there was kipping handstand push-ups in a workout, and there was no line standard. They just said, hey, your hands have to be inside this box on the ground, and you have to reach full lockout at the top.
And they've used that standard for the games and for other competitions.
Yeah.
So I think they're just simplifying it.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to do it. If they want to do handstand push-ups, I hope that's what the standard is. Just let us as owners and coaches really try to enforce the elbow lockout, which half the gyms don't, half the gyms do, but that's their problem. And then the last thing I'll say is you could throw a deficit handstand push-up in. That's been in the Age Online qualifier before. It's not very inclusive, but it could be something where round 1 through 3 is regular handstand, then rounds 4 through 6 is the deficit. That would be a little bit hard to set up. So again, I don't think we'll see it, but just be prepared for it.
I remember that in the AGOQ, and they threw some shoulder like dumbbell work before that. And it just it fried your shoulders.
Yeah. It's a different demand.
In terms of body weight movements, we probably will see burpees.
Pistols, definitely. I would love to see it in the open.
Push-ups.
They've done hand release push-ups before. It's not even the elbows locking out. That's a pretty simple standard. And if you do hand release, you're not going to have any of these bro push-ups where these guys go halfway down. And yes, I'm saying guys, not girls, because guys are always the guilty culprits there. I think it's more has to do with it's hard to standardize someone's hips coming up as they do a push-up.
Inchworming?
Right, like inchworming, which a lot of people do. I remember there was a time years ago, I took a video of everyone I coached doing push-ups, and I remember sending that to them just so they could see. It wasn't like you suck, look at that. I just wanted them to see how they were moving, and so many people were, wow, I did not know I moved like that when I did push-ups. I don't think we'll see push-ups in the open.
Air squats?
Could see air squats, jumping air squats maybe, just to enforce the fact that you are getting all the way up. Another body weight movement, step over. We already talked about the box, step overs with a box. There's so many different versions of the burpee you can do. I guess you could consider all this gymnastic stuff body weight as well. I remember, guys, we've talked about this in the past. Over half the movements traditionally in the open you're not moving any exterior load. So this is something you should always keep in mind.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Do you have some thoughts about what these open workouts would be like in terms of time domain and composition?
Yeah, I've done a little case study on every single open workout. And again, Dave Castro did program all of them, but I think they're going to use his flow. A lot of the guys that are programming now are Dave Castro disciples. And I think you'll probably see the similar feel. The average length of an open workout is 12 to 13 minutes. That's something that you should always keep in mind. It gets a little subjective now that there's a lot of 4-time workouts. In the first few years of the open, everything was an AMRAP, so that you knew how long everyone was going to work for. Now there's some workouts that, all right, it's going to take this person that's a little bit faster 9 minutes, and that person got capped out at 18. But just generally speaking, be prepared to work hard for 12 to 13. Another thing is the average volume of open workout. Again, a little subjective because of AMRAPs for time, between 200 and 220 reps. You will probably see a workout that has a much lesser volume, but the movements are more difficult. But then you might see a workout that has up to 300 reps. And I always quantify double unders as 1 rep for every 4 double unders.
Oh.
So just so like if 100 double unders, I count that as 25 reps, just so you know, just for the sake of time and loading and how complex the movements are. So those are the two things. All right, 12 to 13 minutes, 200 to 220 reps. And that's something that can maybe help some of you guys prepare. How do you respond to that? Do you get through 100 reps really well and then you fall apart? All right, you got to do a little bit better job pacing. Can you get to 150 reps, then fall apart? That kind of thing. There's usually one heavy test, all right? And they're always lifting under duress, and you usually don't have a lot of time. There's a thought here that I get asked every year. A lot of people wish, it's always the lifters that say this, they wish that there was heavier stuff. I'm like, hey, you're probably going to get one shot to lift heavy in the open. So just keep that in mind when you're working on stuff throughout the year. When you're trying to decide between this and that, just keep in mind that gets tested once in open. And the max lift, I think, has only happened 3 times. But there have been several other workouts where the weights go up as you get more fatigued. And then you eventually get to a bar that you either can't lift or you just didn't have enough time to lift it.
It seems like they always want you to lift tired or with your heart rate elevated.
Yeah.
Like they won't let you lift just fresh.
Yeah. On the next stage, they've done it. Last year, one of the events was a 4-rep max front squat. You have 20 minutes. I don't think you're going to see that in the open. It's just not, I don't know. It doesn't feel very CrossFit-y, right? When they tell you to go to a rack and go lift for 20 minutes. It would be cool if they said 3-rep max back squat. I have to say a prayer that no one would get hurt, but it would be cool to lift that in that kind of environment and have it mean something. But a big part of CrossFit, back to the original days of CrossFit, OG CrossFit, is if you're strong, cool. If you're not strong, but if you can't maintain strength when you're tired, it's not very functional. I think there's still like a tie to CrossFit, functional fitness, be fit in the gym so that you can be fit outside the gym. And I think that's a big part of why they do that. Yeah, I had that also. Max lifts have been occurred on under 10% of all the open tests. Just think about that. Under 10% of all the open tests, a max lift has been tested. There's more body weight than exterior load. So if you take every single movement in the open, there are more movements that don't require exterior load than there are movements that have an exterior load. So keep that in mind. We talked about that. What someone's training approach should be throughout the course of the year is if you can get better at moving your body, you will perform better in the open.
And by definition, that is what most people will qualify fitness as, not being able to squat 800 pounds,
right,
but being able to move your body repetitively.
Yep.
Because every day, that's what you're often doing. And especially as you get older, you want to be able to maintain moving your body.
There's two more here. I'm just going to say capacity, right? Gymnastics capacity, aerobic capacity. If you had to come up with one foundation of what the open test, that's it right there, is how well can you manage your heart rate and breathing while doing movements. And gymnastics capacity is usually at some point where you can do stuff unbroken, or don't always obsess over unbroken. It's can you do a set of pull-ups, toes bar, handstand push-ups, burpees, even pistols, right? Without it jacking your heart rate up so much that you can't move on to another movement that is complementary, meaning different, so that you should be able to do it muscle-wise.
It always seems that was one of Dave Castro's things that would make him so great at this, was he always paired things that really challenged you. And they weren't complicated. It was just, like you said, 1, 2, or 3 movements tops.
Yep.
And they just wrecked you, even though it looked like it wouldn't wreck you.
Couplets and triplets, right? A couplet is a workout with 2 movements. A triplet is a movement with 3 movements. That's over 80% of open tests. What that does, what Sam was just saying, is that alone increases intensity, is being able to try to be repetitive as you get more fatigued. Our gym loves workouts that have 5 movements. I get notes about it all the time. I love that workout. You're just always doing something different. And that's a mental stimulation, and you feel like full body, like your arms are tired, your legs are tired, abs are tired, right? You know, if you really want to find capacity with someone, and that's what this is, that's what the worldwide rank is, that's how you do it, is you don't put a lot of different movements in. Wall balls and deadlifts, for example, 15 minutes of that, or 9 minutes of that even, just going back and forth. I think about Friday's workout. We just got done with that wall ball, single dumbbell devil press. I watched it. I did it. I watched 4 or 5 classes do it. I did it myself. Everyone looked and felt probably the same after a round or two, but because you were only doing those 2 things and at a pretty intense rate, you eventually find your capacity. You can't do the 10 wall balls in a row anymore, or you have to take an extra long rest, or you start laying on the ground on the devil's press. That is what capacity is. That's where it gets tested. And it's a really interesting, simple way to test people.
Yeah. And it's accessible, because these are not workouts where you're going to hurt yourself, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Same with a single dumbbell.
Yep.
You find at a point at which you can't do more, or
Right.
you think you can't do more.
Your rate slows down. Yeah.
And that's where I think CrossFit's magic is. Where is that capacity for you?
Yeah.
How do you overcome what you think are your limits of capacity?
We've both been there on the wall ball before, right? Like the wall ball, it's simple. I tell people all the time, I've seen people get no rep on wall balls. I've got no rep on wall balls, but I don't think I've ever really seen that much failure on a wall ball, or failure on a devil's press, or failure on a burpee. So in my head, I talk to myself all the time while I'm training, especially on like a test type workout. I'm not going to fail this. Just keep going. Every time I got to the 8th, 9th, 10th round of that wall ball workout, I was like, dude, I am smoked right now, but I know I'm not going to fail this. Your mind starts to take over. And that's really what these open workouts are. Like, it is worth trying to go into that place for these 3 weeks.
I hope that we have picked some of the movements that might be new in here.
What about new elements?
What do you think?
So I have 2 ideas. We're going to practice this at Bison this upcoming Friday. This is just a random guess, by the way. Basically, you have 2 workouts that he sends you, and you get to choose which one you do first. But the cap is really tough, meaning most people will not finish under the cap. So you have to make a decision on which one you should do first so that you can maximize the amount of reps that you're going to get in the time. But both workouts have to have the same amount of reps in them, 12 reps per round in the workout that we're coming up with. And one of them is a little bit heavier, one of them is a little bit lighter. They both have burpees in it. One of them is a more complicated burpee, one of them is an easier kind of burpee. And what it does, Castro introduced a concept, an element to the Open 2 years ago, where he said, here's how many wall balls you have to do. Here's how many cow row you have to do. Here's how many ring muscle ups you have to do. Break it up however you want. See you later. That was one of my favorite open tests in that it made people put some thought into it. Because sometimes I think CrossFitters are very robotic. They're just so used to coming in, what's the WOD? What's the AMRAP? How many reps? Okay, bye. So no, you figure it out. You tell me, what's your fastest way? I remember talking to people like, why'd you do it that way? And I really wanted to hear feedback because you can start to really, I'm good at wall balls when I'm tired and I can always battle through a row, but my ring muscle ups, when I'm tired, I lose them. So I wanted to bang out big sets there. Or I wanted to end on the row because I know I can just will myself through it. And I think that's a huge part of CrossFit and fitness and life in general is that you got to figure some stuff out. And you can't always be told what to do. You have to figure some of this stuff out for you to reach your maximum potential. What do you think about that kind of format?
I loved it. I felt like there was a lot of controversy with that format in the sense that people who were purists felt a workout's supposed to have a stimulus.
Right.
This is not a workout with a specified stimulus.
Right. Yep.
It's almost a athlete choose what your stimulus is based on your capability. You can argue whether that's truly what good programming is or is not.
Right.
I will say that it does force you to think about programming for yourself, which I think everyone should.
Yeah.
And the thing that was great about it is that your strategy was totally different than my strategy.
Yeah.
I remember looking up 15 different strategies before doing that workout and trying to figure out which one worked best for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I did. I think if I were to do that one again, I would actually choose a different strategy.
Right.
And maybe if I were doing it now, I have different capabilities, so I would choose even a more different strategy. Right. So I think that was great. I think it was a little mind-blowing for people. I don't know if they're going to throw that back in there again.
So another thing that format did with those movements is it gave a lot of people that don't have ring muscle ups, it's like, hey, you could still go do it RX. You just ignore the muscle ups. Go do a wall ball row workout, and at the end, you get to play with the muscle up a little bit. So again, it's another way of saying, hey, we have to get these muscle ups in because at the end of the day, there's a competition to some people. We have to let them go play. You have to. It can't just be about being inclusive. And so you have to try to find that middle line. And it's very difficult to do. It's difficult to do here with our gym, let alone 400,000 people around the world that are doing the workout. Another element could be, I don't know if this would work, but they just give you 2 different workouts and you pick one of them to do.
You choose your own workout.
Right. Or it could be, let's say it could be, let's just use the workout Diane. All right. Deadlift is 2159, deadlifts and handstand push-ups. Mm-hmm. They'll either let you do the 2159 or you do the 45-45. Do 45 deadlifts, 45 handstand push-ups. What do you think about that? Different test.
Unique.
Yeah.
That would definitely be a new element.
Yeah. And yeah, those are the only things I really came up with in terms of new elements.
Do you think they're going to do a double WOD again, like they did 21.3 and then 21.4, where you have a first part of the workout and then a second part of the workout with a second score?
Yeah, I do. Just because I think getting 3 scores, it's not a lot for a fitness test. Like that's what I liked about the Open in the past. Over the course of 5 weeks, you truly found out like the fittest. In 3, you can get lucky or unlucky with 3, like very lucky or very unlucky with 3 workouts. But I think the more workouts you see, the truth comes out. So I would like to see at least something with that. And that could be another element, right? Is every time they've done a workout and then 21.3 and then 21.3A, it's always been a lift after. Mm-hmm. What if they had you go through a workout and then they said, all right, max muscle ups in 2 minutes, max pull ups in 2 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of it only being a lift.
Right.
Why can't it be something like a gymnastics capacity test while you're tired?
I love that idea, and I feel like that would be something they might actually do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else on this?
I feel like we could really go so deep in terms of the programming.
Yeah.
But that would be another hour.
Oh, for sure. I think Sam and I, we haven't even talked about this yet, but I think we'll probably do something podcast related around each open workout. We're not sure if it'll be the Thursday night like last year, or maybe we could do like a little recap on a Sunday and just dive into the programming and then also what to expect. Because once an open workout comes out, you can start narrowing down what will come up. We knew after 2 opens last week that we're definitely going to be on the rig on the 3rd week. We're definitely going to see something heavy. That's something that we can probably do for you guys as the open progresses. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.